What's good, everybody? I appreciate you checking in. Hopefully, you're starting your week great. I was scrolling through social media on Sunday. I'm actually recording this Sunday night, and I came across a photo that first kind of caught my attention. It shocked me at first, but then it got me extremely excited. I'm going to show you what that photo was. I'm going to share it with you, but I'm going to give you my take on it and why this photo by itself has got me even more excited about our defense going into the 2024 season. So I'll give you my opinion on it, and I want to kind of get your take on it as well. So before we get into it, if you can, as always, like this video, hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and then hit that notification bell so you do know when I drop more Raiders content. But at the very least, if you can like this video, it definitely helps me a lot. I'm doing my next giveaway at 4,000 subscribers. So if you want to be included in that, make sure you hit that subscribe button. All my subscribers are included in that giveaway. But before we get into it, as I always do, I'm going to hit you with a little bit of scenario and let me know who you got. Last play of the game, down by 4, fourth and goal from the 1 yard line. You got to run the ball. Who you choosing to carry the rock? Who you choosing to win the ball game? Fourth and goal from the 1, last play. You got to run the ball. Who you taking? On the left-hand side, you got Tyrone Wheatley, one of the strongest runners, one of the toughest runners to ever wear the silver and black. Then you got in the middle, Marshawn Lynch, one of the toughest runners I think ever in the NFL. I mean, what he can do with the ball in his hands has always been amazing. And then you got on the far right, you got Bo Jackson. Don't need to say much about him. Anytime he touched the ball, he was electric. So let me know who you got. Fourth and goal from the 1 yard line. Got to run the rock to win the ball game. Who you got? Tyrone Wheatley, Marshawn Lynch, or Bo Jackson? Let me know in the comment section down below. Who would you take? All right, guys. So we're gonna get into this. And again, came across this photo. A couple content creators have been kind of sharing about this, talking about it, but I'm going to give you my take on it. And so we're going to go ahead and get into a quick article on where this photo came from. Over this past weekend, Raiders defensive line attends Von Miller's sack summit. And then the defensive line came together Saturday in Las Vegas for Von Miller's sack summit. The former defensive player of the year was one of the best pass rushers of his generation. After the offensive line started their own summit, Von Miller decided to do the same for pass rushers. And then a sports writer came out in Vegas, about 40 players gathering for the sack summit hosted by Max Crosby, Von Miller, and Cam Jordan. And then for the second year in a row, Crosby was one of the speakers, giving his tips and tricks on how he became a superstar in the NFL. He was joined by most of the defensive line who looked to wreak havoc in the AFC. Another writer came out and said, huge attendance from the Raiders defensive line at Sack Summit. And this is the photo that we're going to focus on today, and I'm going to break down. So left to right, and these are all the guys that were at the Sack Summit, part of the Raiders defensive line. From left to right, you got Malcolm Kuntz, David Agoa, Charles Snowden, Janarius Robinson, Max Crosby, John Jenkins, and Tyreek Wilson. And we're going to focus on this portion of the photo right here. Just these guys on the right-hand side. I'm going to blow this image up a little bit. We got Max Crosby, okay? And this is what shocked me initially when I saw this photo. You got Max Crosby. He's 6'5", 255 pounds. All right. In the middle, you got John Jenkins. John Jenkins is 6'3", 327 pounds. And then on the very end, you got our former first round, 7th overall draft pick, Tyreek Wilson, standing at 6'6". And as of right now, they have him listed at 275 pounds. All right. Obviously, you can tell Tyreek Wilson's been in that weight room. He's been doing some work. I mean, if you got John Jenkins that was brought in to be, in my opinion, I believe John Jenkins was brought in to be that fourth and short, third and short type of guy, right? At 6'3", 327 pounds, he's going to be able to kind of go on those short yardage downs where you need to get a stop. The opposing offense is going to run that football, and you want him to make that stop. That was one thing that Tyreek Wilson really wasn't fitted well last year because he wasn't very heavy. He's 6'6", he's tall, he's lengthy, he had a really good push, but he wasn't that 4th and 1 type of guy. And so as of right now, they have him listed at 275 pounds. I think based on what this image is telling me, and I could be wrong, let me know in the comment section down below how you feel. There's a good chance Tyreek Wilson could have easily put on another 15 pounds in the offseason. I mean, again, John Jenkins, 327 pounds, Tyreek Wilson standing next to him. Tyreek Wilson looks massive compared to Max Crosby, and he looks even bigger compared to John Jenkins. So there's a good chance. Does Tyree Wilson come in at more around that 290-pound mark? Maybe 295. I don't know. I mean, that could be an extra 20 pounds that I see on Tyree Wilson. Could he be closer to 295? Let me know in the comment section down below. But this is the photo that kind of shocked me, that caught my attention, and I kind of want to talk about it with you guys. One of the things that was huge last season was Tyree Wilson was brought in to be a defensive end, right? That's what he was drafted for. That's what he played a lot on the edge. He played a little bit interior down in Texas Tech. And so, but last year, obviously he was kind of rehabbing from an injury. They tried to play him at the edge position, but it just wasn't working out. You could tell that he was still trying to get his feet wet in the league because he really didn't have much of an off season. I dropped a video that I had my concerns. I dropped a video at the beginning of last season that I had my concerns with Tyree Wilson because not only because of how he was performing in those first handful of games, but also just of the concerns I had coming out of college. And I dropped a video on this last season at the beginning of last season, is that Tyree Wilson, he's very one-dimensional. He doesn't have the intangibles that you need to be a good defensive end in this league. Max Crosby has it. Max Crosby, one, has the motor, but two, he's got that third and fourth move kind of in his back pocket as that edge rusher. And that's what the good edge rushers have. They don't have just one or two moves. They have a third and a fourth move kind of in their repertoire to be able to bring to those offensive tackles, those running backs that are trying to double team. They have what it takes. Tyree Wilson doesn't have that. And to his credit, he didn't need to have it coming out of college. He was a man amongst boys over at Texas Tech. I mean, he was able to manhandle anybody across from him. So he was one-dimensional. He really had a bull rush, and that was about it. And a lot of times, if you go back and look at his film, he wasn't even blocked. A lot of times, offenses would kind of run RPOs off of him, and the quarterback would read off of him. They would leave him unblocked. And they would either hand the ball off, the quarterback would take it based on what he did. And so he came into the league very one-dimensional. And so one of the best things that Patrick Graham did was he moved him down to the interior where Tyree Wilson started to find some success. But even though he found success, one of the concerns that I had was he wasn't very heavy. He was still sitting around that 275-pound mark. And so that's not going to allow him to be that every down interior D lineman. Even though he was finding some success, he did have to find himself coming off the field on the 3rd and 2s, the 4th and 1 situations when the offense was going for it. And so I was kind of concerned as to where he was going to play this year. Was he going to play in the interior more where he was finding some success, or was he going to start to move? Was Patrick Graham wanting to play him off the edge a little bit more this season? And I think both can be true, but let me know in the comment section down below, guys. Here's one of my questions. What position do you want to see Tyree Wilson play, get his most snaps at this upcoming season? Do you want him to play more on the interior right next to Christian Wilkins, which I think is going to be a nasty tandem in this league going into the 2024 season? Or do you want to see him more off of the edge? And again, if you see him more off the edge, then that means Malcolm Kuntz is most likely going to be sitting on that sideline. So let me know in the comment section down below, where do you want to see Tyree Wilson get the majority of his snaps in this upcoming 2024 season? And now, real quick, let's take a look at I'm going to switch back to my screen, and let's take a look at the depth chart. Let's kind of see where these guys sit, right? And let's look at the defense. Let's look at the D-line. Obviously, you have Max Crosby as the left defensive end. You have Christian Wilkins going to play in the interior. Obviously, we brought him in, massive free agent move. You got Malcolm Kuntz on the other side. Now you got John Jenkins in the interior. You got Tyree Wilson sitting behind him. Now, I don't think Tyree Wilson's going to sit behind him. Tyree Wilson will get the start over John Jenkins. I think we brought in John Jenkins for that situational type of play. I mean, for example, on a 4th and 1 or 3rd and 2, you're going to bring in John Jenkins because he's a bigger body. But again, this is where I get excited. If Tyree Wilson has actually put on 15, possibly 20 pounds in the offseason. Now, look, they have him listed at 6'6", 275 pounds. That photo doesn't tell me he's 275 pounds anymore. And so if he is in that 290, 295 range with his athleticism, with his strength, with his length, he can be an all down interior defensive lineman at 295 pounds. I don't see any problem with him playing that. And so that gets me excited because now you can slot Tyree Wilson as an interior defensive lineman sitting right next to Christian Wilkins with Max Crosby on one end, Malcolm Kuntz off the edge on the other. Here's my question, guys, and I'm going to go back to the big screen. If you have Max Crosby on the end, Christian Wilkins and Tyree Wilson on the inside, and Malcolm Kuntz on the opposite side, playing off the edge on the right side, who do you block? Who do you double team? This would make this D line, I would say, in my opinion, the scariest D line in the National Football League. Any quarterback we face is going to be scared as hell. So I kind of want to come on here and kind of give you my take on that photo. There's a couple content creators that have been kind of talking about it as well, but I definitely want to come on here and give you my take, because if Tyree Wilson is putting on that weight and he can get up to that 290, 295 range, that's going to make him extremely scary. And I think Patrick Graham now can put him on the interior and not have to worry about the 3rd and 2 situations, because I think Tyree Wilson does have the ability to kind of move that offensive line around and be a force in that situation, not only on passing downs to get after that quarterback, but now on short yardage downs when you know that offense is going to run. I think Tyree Wilson can get his nose in there and be more effective than he was last year. And so I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see what Tyree Wilson can do. If he does play off on the edge a little bit, I'd hate to see Malcolm Kuntz sit on the sideline, because Malcolm Kuntz has shown that he could be an every down edge rusher in this league. So I think Tyree Wilson on the interior, all 3 downs, can be just a nasty addition to this front 4. So let me know in the comment section down below, guys, how you feel. I appreciate you sticking with me through this video. Again, if you can, please like this video, hit the subscribe button, turn on those notifications, and I'll see you guys on the next video. I'm out.